My friends, have you ever spent an entire weekend playing one Star Fox level to max out your score? What about experiencing a weird glitch in Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon? Or a mysterious, inaccessible area in Aidyn Chronicles? Yes indeed, today we're diving into some truly obscure facts, lore, glitches, and mysteries with this one. Strange things I've found from my time deep diving Nintendo 64 stuff online. Ideas and concepts that have mystified or amazed a truly niche subset of gamers for decades. So buckle up, and here we go.
Here we go!
Here's a glitch, old as time itself, found in a classic video in none other than the game Star Fox 64, a true legendary Nintendo 64 entry that I've never really talked about much on this channel, so here's the time to change that. Among the many paths one can take through the Lilat system in the game, one can end up on Solar, which seems to be the Lilat system's sun. Now, this is a very hot level where you take constant environmental damage, so you need to be careful about refilling your health at every opportunity. But here's the thing. Since Star Fox 64 is a kind of on-rails shooter, while speedruns of the game do exist, a more common competitive way to play Star Fox 64 competitively is to go for a high score, either on each stage or in a full game playthrough as a whole. And while on most stages, you'd be very happy scoring like 300 or 500 points, the Solar stage is interesting in that, well, an old exploit can result in getting a high score of 999 on this stage. Indeed, here's an ancient clip from the year 2008 of legendary gamer Zallard, perhaps better known for his Punch-Out achievements, but also a great Star Fox 64 player. And this clip from his channel, uploaded 17 years ago, is titled Star Fox 64 Solar 999 Hits, the longest boss fight in history. He writes in the description, "I did this about a year ago on and off for a weekend while watching various movies and shows. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Spaced Season 1. I was in an Edgar Wright mood. Also, I didn't discover this method of scoring points here. I'm not sure who it was, who first discovered it, but it was certainly not me." So what exactly is this exploit? Well, you see, this boss named Volcane will go through his cycle and shoot these pillars of lava at you. If you use a well-timed charge shot while these pillars of lava are still underground, or at least under the surface of fire, they'll count as getting an additional hit on the hit counter. This is pretty unique, as generally other boss fights in the game don't have situations where you can gain many points once you start engaging with the boss fight. Now, this is a very slow method. You can slowly tick it up 2 or 3 at a time, cycle by cycle, going through Volcane's motions. As Zallard described, he spent an entire weekend and watched various movies doing this whole thing, slowly but surely, playing for hours, getting hit by hit, until reaching 999 on his score and finishing the stage. Now that's truly remarkable in its own right. Unfortunately, modern Star Fox 64 hit runs don't allow this exploit, otherwise they would take, weekends worth of time to get a completed high score attempt in there. It's also argued that it doesn't take very much skill, rather simply tons of grinding in order to perform such a feat. Now, here's the thing. All these years later, a tool-assisted speedrunner, Weston Braille, decided to play around with this technique and perform a high-score tool-assisted speedrun, including the Solar 999 trick just for the heck of it. After great effort in his TASing, he was able to reduce the time it takes for a Solar 999 performance from a weekend long to only 43 minutes. That's just one level, by the way, and a tool-assisted one at that for 43 minutes, but hey, pretty insane. In using this path through the game, he was able to complete the TAS and bring the high score from something around 4,100 points to a new total of 5,198 hits, an increase of about 1,000 hits, thanks to Solar. Now that is truly remarkable. Compare this to the original N64 gameplay high score record, which can be something from around 2700 to 3171, depending on the exact category and technique, which is a rabbit hole unto itself for another time. The current high score record on Solar, the individual level, is 297 by Kai Nintendo, a time submitted to both Cyberscore and the Hit64 community website. But most full game categories wouldn't even visit Solar. Either way, the Solar 999 method is something that harkens back to early glitch exploration on the Nintendo 64, as well as tying into modern score developments thanks to Weston Braille's recent tool-assisted speedrun. Will someone ever complete a Solar 999 hit run on a full game high score attempt on the real Nintendo 64 hardware, non-TAS style? Now that, my friends, would be a truly remarkable run. Alright, I've had some requests for the Goemon games, especially as they refer to comfy places on the Nintendo 64. Now, unfortunately, I've never played this game, so I need to give it a good, solid playthrough in order to give better insight. But I found this. A strange glitch encountered by none other than GoldenEye legend Wouter Jansen when he was speedrunning the game nearly 20 years ago, around the same time of his iconic Donkey Kong 64 speedrun attempts, which led to the Wouter Goes Bananas incident. Now, could his Goemon attempts lead to something like Goemon Goes Bananas? Well, anyways, Wouter's glitch here is titled Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon, Odo Town Glitch, and has no video description. In it, we see him jump on top of this sign and fence and then get a ridiculous amount of height, to the point he can walk in the sky and eventually fall out of bounds on the level. We see one comment from 14 years ago read, "How do I overlook these simple glitches? I mean, could it be possible to skip the chain pipe?" Although I might get a clear answer, I'm gonna answer myself. Nope. XD. And that's the thing. Presumably, this is just an odd glitch and doesn't have any speedrun utility. But then again, I doubt this has been looked into with the same depth as something like Carpetless or Ganondorf, thus it's possible that this kind of mechanic or glitch could indeed be very useful in the game. I'm not expert enough with Goemon to say more, but I just want to feature a little segment from this game for those who have been asking. So there, my friends, Wouter's Goemon glitch. Now here's a clip of some raw footage I recorded in GoldenEye a few months back. I was playing around on Jungle, trying to capture Natalia's text lines to find any obscure ones, but then something even more strange happened. I had on fast animation, invisibility, and DK mode, in hopes this could get Natalia to mess around with guards, triggering text lines. But something completely unexpected happened, and you'll see based on my shock. The video capture when I did this was not great, so I'm going to have to edit it a little bit here, but pay attention especially to any objectives that come up or down. You know, just one of those things where why they decide to program in so many kind of one-off voice lines that are kind of random and not part of the story on Jungle only to give Natalia some color as she's battling the guards. It's a very interesting choice and one that, you know, not a lot of people bring up when it comes to GoldenEye 007. And I mean, look, we're in this very bizarre scenario where she's seeking guards, but like they've all stopped spawning in. And like, what is going on? And hey, perhaps the mysteries of Jungle shall persist as we move on to our final examination of the night. I mean, it actually seems like she may not seek. Objective D completed? What? Is that not the ammo dump? Objective D completed. What just happened there? Escort Natalia to Yan... Wait, what? Okay, that is actually something that I don't think anyone has ever seen before. I'm actually like at a loss. That is an objective that you usually never see. You only see completed in the last like frame when you enter the lift. What? We actually just captured stunning footage that I'm at a complete and utter loss of. Honestly, we gotta get the GoldenEye guys digging deep into that one. I don't think it'll affect like speed running or anything, because you have to hit yourself to the lift for the level to fade out anyways. That's why I went and checked the ammo dump and blew it up, because I was wondering, like, what if objective D incomplete? What is... I'm so at a loss of what we've just seen. I'm not sure I've ever heard of anyone encountering this before. I mean, this is gonna be crazy. Okay, anyways, I just... Like, I expect if I enter the lift, it'll say objective D complete. I forget if it says it on screen or it just, like, is one of those objectives that completes as the level fades out. But the fact that it was showing up as complete and then incomplete is not something that I think has ever been seen or recorded before. I mean, I could be wrong, but, I know this game pretty well. That's crazy. Now, this has been replicated by others in the time since, though no more videos of it exist. I asked GoldenEye knowledgeable expert Grassloo about it, and he even had never seen it before. You could probably get it to happen yourself if you try with these similar cheats. Just hang around the end with invisibility and fast animation and see what happens. I have no idea what explains this or why this happens. At first I thought, could it be the ammo dump? But it was actually the objective for Natalia to escape this happened to. And I thought, like, does this come up at the very end when you warp the elevator? But no, it doesn't. You never see this objective appear on screen on a run of this level. It's just so bizarre. Does the game think Natalia has been in the ending area long enough and that she should complete, and then realizes it was wrong? I really have no clue, nor any idea if this could be possibly useful on any other level, especially in speedrunning. I mean, the concept of completing objectives early or arbitrarily certainly has the potential to be game-breaking, so now with this out there, I'd love to see if the speedrun scientists determine whether this is a one-off glitch taking place solely on jungle under these circumstances, or something else entirely. This next thing is so silly and stupid, but I feel called to mention it. These bizarre things you stumble upon on the internet from ages ago. Have you ever read an old game FAQ's walkthrough or guide? These provide great insight into the prevailing moods and vibe of the early internet, as many were written in the early 2000s, especially for N64 games. I came across a walkthrough for Excitebike 64 a few months back, and found something which I find hilarious. You see, many of these old guides will include some kind of disclaimer, usually asking third parties not to re-upload or steal their guides, especially onto another website for monetization, which is, fair enough. Their own writing is their own copyright and all that, but this guy takes it to a whole new level. Green Flag's Excitebike 64 guide and walkthrough features this disclaimer. First, I own the copyright to my work, so don't be a fool and rip it off in any way, shape, or form, either by claiming the material as your own or anything to that effect. If you include anything from this Excitebike 64 guide in a competing work, you must give me explicit credit. So hey, Green Flag, explicit credit due. Thank you for this guide. Okay, fair enough. He continues that he has given permission for a few sites to use it, and then he hits us with this. Third, understand that you are using this FAQ at your own peril. The odds of some sort of unsolicited or severe event occurring which is directly connected to this FAQ is infinitesimal. Therefore, I cannot be held responsible for any of the following called by the usage of this document. The expense of any such event is considered your responsibility. N64 or Excitebike 64 game pack damage, regardless of the way in which it was sustained, injury or death sustained during the utilization of this guide, extreme frustration, being grounded, arrested, or the victim of some sort of punishment, all other unsolicited events, including severe events. Honestly, I absolutely love this. What kind of other unsolicited severe events could the writer Green Flag possibly be imagining? It reminds me of early Wikipedia entries with the Dyatlov Pass incident. Could he be imagining a meteorite or piece of space junk landing on top of your CRT, causing you to perish while playing Excitebike 64? Or a break in the space-time continuum somehow caused by your gameplay? It reminds me of the kind of insane stuff I would have written back in the day just for the sake of it, and I just want to share it here to further immortalize it all. What kind of events do you think Green Flag had in mind? And hey, at least he covered his legal bases, which frankly cannot be said for some other gaming content creators throughout the ages. Here's a mystery in a lesser traveled N64 game that a viewer alerted to me. Let's see if anyone watching might have any answers. A comment on a previous video reads this: I don't know if this is the best place to ask it, but I really need some help. I have a 24-year-old N64 mystery that barely any other human being seems to care about, but has been driving me crazy. The mystery is in the game Aidyn Chronicles, which was a very not popular game to say the least, despite being one of the very few RPGs on the N64. So, the mystery is that during the storyline of the game, there's a short period in which you go island hopping away from the main landmass that takes up 90% of the game's map. These two islands that you visit are called Chaos Island, followed by Nammer's Isle. The game uses teleporter structures that are scattered through the game in pairs of two to help players cover large distances easier, which are only usable after standing beneath both counterparts. On Nammer's Isle, there are two teleporters next to each other. The one on the right connects to a teleporter in the Wizard's Tower basement in a town on the mainland, letting you return to Nammer's Isle after the island hopping section. The left one does absolutely nothing, as though you haven't found its match, even after activating every other teleporter in the game. This is where Chaos Island comes in. You can never return to it once you leave and progress through the story. Logic would say that the second teleporter on Nammer's connects to the one that should be on Chaos, so you can get back if you missed something. Well, it just so happens that on Chaos Island, there's a huge temple dungeon, and a few maps into it, there's a room with a secret door. This thing is obviously supposed to be openable by the texture of the fake wall panel covering it. But the door never opens no matter what I and a few other dedicated players have tried to do. My theory is that whatever map is hiding behind the secret door is housing that last teleporter, and who knows what else. I also believe that the loading warp point for said map is directly under the wall panel's hitbox, because I've glitched out of bounds, video on my channel, and gotten behind it. But nothing came from mashing the A button like a madman back there. If you read this, thank you for taking the time. This one door is my gaming white whale, and I'm just not knowledgeable enough to crack it alone. The game being so obscure only adds to the problem. And the commenter did link that video which you've been seeing on screen, where the description reads this: here's the secret door. It should be openable, and a few people apparently have opened it before, but now no one knows how to open it anymore. I glitched behind the door itself, but I can't do much because either the warp is in the area under the door itself, or it isn't active. I'm more than sure that this door leads to the room with the teleporter linking Nammer's Isle and Chaos Island, but fans of the game who have access to walk through the walls codes aren't testing this. I used an enemy to push me out of bounds. I literally just happened while I was sneaking around the room avoiding all battles. Someone please prove me wrong and use a Game Shark or hack to walk through the walls, and go press A on that warp within the door's warp. This is one of very few times that I think I might be right. And hey, this is a great idea, and I do have an EverDrive, and I could test this once I learn Aidyn Chronicles. Something that would take me dozens of hours to do. Maybe one day, maybe I'll stream this game and we'll dive further, but until then, it'll remain this kind of mystery. We even see a reply here by a fellow Shamsuk who seems to be an Aidyn Chronicles focused YouTube creator. This is one of the many games mysteries that continue to go unsolved to this day. I spent a lot of time mashing my face against this wall in all the versions of the game that are currently known, including the debug version that allows you to turn off movable walls and play as a chicken avatar that can get behind the wall. However, with all my attempts, I haven't been able to access this room, and I've only been met with several random game-crashing codes. I've spoken with devs of the game, and only one has confirmed that there was a room like that which you mentioned, but not sure honestly at this time. Will keep you posted. Highly recommended playing out the debug version of the game if you haven't already. Maybe you can find something that I missed in my review of it. To which the original poster Justin replies, "Thank you for the reply. If you've ran through the code looking for any and every oddity, I'm sure there's no map that has a mythical Chaos Island to Nammer's Isle teleporter. I didn't use cheats to get behind the door in the video. The name cheats weren't known, at least by me, at the time of the video. I used sneak and N64 jank and got super lucky to be bumped out of bounds by an enemy after 3 or 4 tries. The flee name cheat now makes it super easy to get here, but it doesn't matter if you can't press A in the middle of the door's programmed hitbox to go somewhere. You went through the code, it doesn't exist. I have to ask, did you try standing inside the door and mashing A? Never mind, you went through the game's code. That shuts down childhood wonder. Thank you for solving the mystery of Chaos Island's unopenable door." Could it really be that simple and that unfortunate? As I've discussed in some of my own videos, these childhood wondrous mysteries where, the game simply wasn't finished, which is probably the case in Aidyn Chronicles, or these imaginary rooms were never built by developers. Stuff that could be finished and added onto by game modders out there, but weren't there 25 years ago when we first played. Do we have any Aidyn Chronicles experts in chat? It would be truly remarkable if we could get even more insight into this, and perhaps, just maybe, find a way to break this niche, esoteric N64 game. Well, that'll do it today, my friends. I hope you enjoyed some more esoteric N64 mysteries, glitches, and lore. Thank you all for watching. A huge thanks to the Patreon supporters and channel members for your support of my work. Stay true, my friends, and I will see you in the next stream or video.